Um, hello. Okay. How was your spring break, guys? Good. Did you guys just stay home most of the time? Take up some hours of work? Did any one of you guys traveled? No. Same thing. I stay at home. I wish I traveled. I was actually planning on going to Pennsylvania. Us going to go revisit my my lovely childhood memory of going to Philadelphia, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today I want to highlight for you guys key historical sites of Philadelphia and their significant importance. Today we'll be learning about the tragedy of one of our founding fathers, and a training field of the U.S. Army, and then we're gonna wrap it up with the building that where the very idea of becoming a nation of freedom was born, all located in the birthplace of America, Philadelphia. One easily missed historical site is the Benjamin Franklin home. It's hidden behind buildings, and the only thing that stands is an outline of his house. He was born in Boston, but he moved to Philadelphia when he was 17. Ben Franklin was an interesting person. He was a printer, he was a diplomat, inventor, publisher, author, statesman, postmaster, and a whole bunch more. He founded the Library Company, the Pennsylvania Hospital, and the University of Pennsylvania. And his print shop is just across the yard from here. Ben Franklin died in 1790, and buried with his wife a few blocks down where they lived from here. And the house was passed down to his sons, but was really poorly taken care of. The house later in 1812 was torn down, and sadly, the restoration wasn't able to be completed. But an architect was able to outline where his house once stood and some of the floor plans he had. Though his house didn't last that long, his contributions to the revolution were very much more lasting. He was a diplomat, and he was chosen by the Congress to go to France and look for help to fight the independence, to fight the British for American independence. So when he went to France, he was able to go speak with the king, and they were able to have a treaty of alliance with France signed in 1778. Another historical significance he has made to the revolution, he has introduced a former Prussian general, Baron von Steuben, who later in the war helped out the Americans by giving them new tactics, teaching them new drills, and organizing the whole army. And here he is where he was buried with his wife. This is Ben Franklin, and a lot of people always say save more money for a rainy day. That's Ben Franklin. He always saved up, and so people threw pennies at his grave. The general came at a very needed time. The army led by George Washington had just lost a few battles, and they were gravely tired, battered. They were discouraged. So they retreated to a location near Philadelphia in a valley known as Valley Forge. That's our next location. Valley Forge, with all its beauty, the troops dreaded most of their time here. It was a cold winter, and they just lost they just lost a few key battles. They saw the capital being overtaken, and the troops were very tired. They were starved, under-equipped, and even George Washington, he quoted, "Naked and starving as they are, we could not enough admire these incomparable patience and fidelity of the soldiery. That they did not have been eared to exciting by their suffering, to general mutiny or dispersion." So just saying how these men were so battered and worn down by the war that they haven't committed mutiny yet, and that's a key showing that the Americans really want this. So when they went to Valley Forge, according to renowned historian and writer for History Channel, Sarah Pruitt, out of 11,000 troops that came to Valley Forge, nearly 2,000 died due to starvation, diseases, and just cold weather. A lot more just dropped out. But in February of 1778, Baron von Steuben arrived and begins to change things. He taught the soldiers how to fight more efficiently, a lot more efficient regulation in their drill and their training. He wrote this down in his book that clearly outlined how things were supposed to be ran, called the Regulations for the Order and Discipline of the Troops of the United States. Valley Forge, even though with all its beauty, was still a really harsh winter. Though, and in the encampments, a lot of the lodges were wooden, and they were just scattered all over the place. So when Baron von Steuben came, he organized the lodging to a lot more sanitary and more orderly fashion. In June, then with all of his training came in June 1778, Continental Army comes out of Valley Forge, well-trained, determined, and more ready to push back the British to claim their freedom. Now it's a national park, people are free to walk around. Here's a statue of Baron von Steuben, his statue is there right in the center of Valley Forge, and people can appreciate what he has done for the Army. Lastly, we're going to talk about where it all began. A building that was once the Pennsylvania State Courthouse witnessed some of the greatest minds create what soon would become the United States of America. More commonly known as Independence Hall, this building has heard the discussions of ideas emerging for the emerging nation. This was the meeting place of the Continental Congress, which were on the verge of making an independent country. This was where the people witnessed the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the makings of the Articles of Confederation, and the ratification of the United States of America, Constitution of the United States. It was written so beautifully, many believe the Declaration of Independence was written on July 4th, but actually it was written on July 2nd. And then it was revised and then sent to the public before July 4th, just so you guys get a clarification of when, why we're actually using 4th of July. This year is going to be the 240th birthday of America, and they always have fireworks right behind the Independence Hall. On its bell tower used to sit the Liberty Bell, which rang when they first read aloud the Declaration of Independence to the people. Independence Hall is still located in the same place, Chestnut Street, between 5th and 6th Street. It's a major tourist attraction, and people can come inside in the room where they wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's still there, and they're able to be part of reality. And so that's it. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys can find historical importance in the locations you guys visited soon in your travels, and I hope you guys have safe travels.
Marlene, what did you think?
I liked his attention getter at the beginning, how he asked about spring break and how it was relevant to what he was going to talk about. I think that it was interesting because I've never been to Philadelphia and it makes me want to go now. I do think that you were reading too much and maybe you could have looked up a little bit more and spoken a little bit louder. But overall, I like how you explained how, or like how you explained what happened there, and the writing of the Declaration was pretty interesting. Like, I never knew that. I would have expected it was on block.
All right, thank you. Let me start with the elephant in the room, and that's the time issue. You got to your third point when you ran out of time, and so you actually went 2.5 minutes over. You need to edit a little bit more. I think you get a little bit lost in the story, both of Ben Franklin and of Valley Forge. It feels like you repeat some of the stuff on both of those points a couple of times, and I think part of the problem is that you know the subject, you want to talk about it in a way that you are interested in, but you need to have a little bit more control over the material. I heard only 1 or 2 source citations in the Valley Forge section, and I know that a lot of it is just basic historical data that you're citing, and there's not any controversy about it, but I think that there needs to be a little bit more uniqueness to some of the information. All the stuff about Ben Franklin, for instance, and how pivotal he was in creating alliances in France and getting assistance there. There have been hundreds of books written about those kinds of things, and we ought to get some quoted material on that, and you just kind of summarize it like it's, I'm sure you did research on it, but I don't want to sound too disparaging, but it sounds like, half of a Wikipedia sentence, and then let's cram all this stuff into this one section that simplifies it too much. And I think that's a little bit problematic. I thought the visuals were interesting. The location of Ben Franklin's original house, you've got a nice image there of how they've tried to commemorate where it is, despite the fact that they don't still have the house there. I thought that was interesting. You do need to kind of clarify a little bit on some of the language. It's part of what you're saying is true about saving, that sort of thing. But the famous saying from Ben Franklin is, "A penny saved is a penny earned," which is why people are tossing the pennies, I'm sure. And you kind of don't get that line right. You got it a little bit awkward, and I think that's just probably some anxiety issues that are going on there. You're a little bit nervous about that. You need a lot more practice when you're speaking. It feels like it's the first run through instead of the 10th or 15th run through, and so as a consequence, you're feeling out the subject rather than you've got it refined and are set to go, and it's being delivered appropriately. The visuals are interesting. They're all fine. They use them at appropriate times. Maybe you could reorder a couple of things on the Valley Forge thing. For instance, Gesundheit. For instance, you might start by locating Valley Forge and what its proximity is to Philadelphia, since that's really what you're talking about there, and then maybe show us that one image of the beautiful site of Valley Forge, but in 1778 it wasn't this beautiful, it looked like this, and then you get to the next picture. So there are just some things that you can do in assembling the speech that I think would fix a lot of those issues. All right, thank you.